Hello, this is ireadwiki. You can find us at ireadwiki.com. This installment is on the Iraq War. The Iraq War, the Second Gulf War, and Operation Iraqi Freedom was a military campaign that began March 20th, 2003, with the invasion of Iraq by multinational force led by troops from the United States under the administration of President George W. Bush and the United Kingdom under Prime Minister Tony Blair. Prior to the invasion, the governments of the United States and the United Kingdom asserted that the possibility of Iraq employing weapons of mass destruction, WMD, threatened their security and that their coalition and that of their coalition/regional allies. In 2007, the United Nations Security Council passed Resolution 1441, which called for Iraq to completely cooperate with UN weapon inspectors to verify that they were not in possession of weapons of mass destruction and cruise missiles. The United Nations Monitoring, Verification and Inspection Commission, UNMOVIC, was given access to Iraq under provisions of the UN resolution, but found no evidence of weapons of mass destruction. Additional months of inspection to conclusively verify Iraq's compliance with the U.S. disarmament requirements were not undertaken. Head Weapons Inspector Hans Blix advised the UN Security Council that while Iraq's cooperation was active, it was not unconditional, not immediate. Iraq's declarations with regards to weapons of mass destruction could not be verified at the time, but unresolved tasks concerning Iraq's disarmament could be completed in not years, not weeks, but months. Following the invasion, the U.S.-led Iraq Survey Group concluded that Iraq had ended its nuclear, chemical, and biological programs in 1991 and had no active programs at the time of the invasion, but that Iraq intended to resume production once Iraq sanctions were lifted. Although some degraded remnants of misplaced and abandoned chemical weapons from before 1991 were found, they were not weapons which had been the main weapons which had been the main argument to justify the invasion. Some U.S. officials also accused Iraqi President Saddam Hussein of harboring and supporting al-Qaeda, but no evidence of a meaningful connection was ever found. Other reasons for the invasion, including Iraq's financial support of the families of Palestine suicide bombers, Iraq government human rights abuse, and the effort to spread democracy to the country. The invasion of Iraq led to the occupation and the eventual capture of President Hussein, who was later tried by the Iraqi Council of Law and executed by the new Iraqi government. Violence against coalition forces and among various groups soon led to the Iraqi insurgency. Strife between many Sunni and Shia Iraqi groups and the emergence of the new faction of al-Qaeda in Iraq. In 2008, the UNHCR reported an estimate of 4.7 million refugees, approximately 8% of the population, with 2 million abroad, and 2.7 million internally displaced people. In 2007, Iraq's Anti-Corruption Board reported that 35% of Iraqi children, or about 5 million children, were orphans. The Red Cross stated that in March 2010, Iraq's humanitarian situation remained among the most critical in the world, with millions of Iraqis forced to rely on insufficient and poor quality water sources. In June 2008, U.S. Department of Defense officials claimed security and economic indicators began to show signs of improvement in what they hailed as significant and fragile gains. Iraq was 5th on the 2008 Failed States Index and 6th on the 2009 list. As public opinion favoring troop withdrawals increased and as Iraq forces began to take responsibility for security, member nations of the coalition withdrew their forces. In late 2008, the U.S. and Iraqi government approved of a status of forces agreement effective through January 1st, 2012. The Iraqi parliament also ratified a strategic framework agreement with the U.S. aimed at ensuring cooperation in constitutional rights, threat defense, education, energy development, and other areas. In late February 2009, the newly elected U.S. President Barack Obama announced an 18-month withdrawal window for combat forces, with approximately 50,000 troops remaining in the country, to advise and train Iraqi security forces and to provide intelligence and surveillance. General Ray Odierno, the top U.S. military commander in Iraq, said he believes all U.S. troops will be out of the country by the end of 2011, while UK forces ended combat operations on April 30, 2009. Iraqi Prime Minister Nouri al-Maliki has said he supports the accelerated pullout of U.S. forces. In a speech at the Oval Office on August 31st, 2010, Obama declared, "The American combat mission in Iraq has ended. Operation Iraqi Freedom is over, and the Iraqi people have lead responsibility for the security of their country." Beginning September 1st, 2010, the American operational name for the involvement in Iraq changed from Operation Iraqi Freedom to Operation New Dawn. The remaining 50,000 U.S. troops are now designated as Advise and Assistance Brigades, assigned to non-combat operations while retaining the ability to revert to combat operations as necessary. 2 combat aviation brigades also remain in Iraq.